Hello and welcome to the Gateway RPG Tabletop System Character Creation Quick Guide tutorial. I've been wanting to make this video for a while, and those of you that are joining in who might not know what Gateway RPG is, Gateway RPG is a tabletop role-playing game system. The rules for this game are free. It's a rules-lite, and it's an easy-to-learn and universal D20 role-playing game framework. It's perfect for introducing new players to the hobby of tabletop role-playing games. The game itself, the rules are based off of some similar mechanics that you'd find in the 5th edition of Dungeons and Dragons and some other D20 tabletop games. With these scaled down rules in the rules-lite system, it allows for any theme or setting to be used. So we can use this game for high fantasy, cyberpunk, horror, Wild West, Pulp Noir, anything that the imagination can create. Excuse me. So, with the Gateway system, we have here a character creation quick guide, and I'm going to run through the steps of creating a simple character in both the standard character sheet and the advanced character sheet that's available. So, I was just kind of coming up with a quick character here, and I thought to myself, what would be a good archetype or race or class for someone for the game? So I kind of stuck with a high fantasy setting to be used, since a lot of people probably gravitate more towards that as a starter, since it's kind of related to the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. But any character can be created, like I said, cyberpunk or pulp noir horror. So we'll just go ahead and dive right into this. So coming up with your character archetype, race, and class. So with this, you'd want to work with your game master on how you might create a character that fits in the game, and what specific things they might be good or bad at. What that basically means is your game master probably has a setting in mind. So, for instance, if they were thinking of a high fantasy game, you'd just want to talk to your game master about what type of characters might fit in their world. So for this one, I'm just thinking of a high fantasy character. So I was thinking of a Minotaur blacksmith. So from here, since we have, a general idea in mind for a character, I'll say his name's Onos. And he's a Minotaur blacksmith that specializes in using a war pick to defeat his enemies. And then just kind of coming up with some extra details around, his race or his class. And so I have here that Minotaurs are very strong creatures normally. Blacksmith is very good at crafting and repairing items. They may also have a greater understanding how some items work, such as locks. So we can see some differences in how this character can get built between the standard version and the advanced version. So step 2 of the character creation guide, we're choosing what method of our character creation is being used. So your game master, again, they're going to either be wanting to use the standard characters and the standard rules of the game, or there's a more advanced creation and rules as well. The standard is kind of very low level, great for beginner users and people who aren't used to playing tabletop games. And the advanced creation is probably more geared towards veteran players, people that know how a D20 role-playing game is. So just looking at the standard creation here, so we can see that just some details that kind of come out here. We can name our character Onos in the form fillable PDF. And if I wanted to just kind of copy this information here, put that in their archetype, we have that all right here now. So we'll go ahead and go down through how a standard character is created, and I'll kind of explain some of the things you'll see here. So for a standard creation, basically the character traits of strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, and wisdom or charisma will be used. And it's as simple as marking one proficiency point and one deficiency point. So proficiency and deficiency, those things are used interchangeably with how dice are rolled in the game. So if you're good at something, you're going to be proficient in it. And that's going to give you advantages when you roll your dice. If you're deficient in something, you're going to roll the dice and it's going to be kind of a harder chance to get a successful roll. And if you have neither proficiency or deficiency, then you're basically just rolling a dice, and whatever results kind of showing up is going to be what you take. So for our character here, Onos, so since I was saying that Minotaurs are strong, we can put his proficiency as strength, and I put his weakness as his deficiency as a wisdom. So in this sheet, the sheet even has how to create a character. So we can mark the proficiency with a plus sign. Doesn't have to be a plus sign if you don't want to. You can mark it however it's easier to read for you. And then for their deficiency, we can mark a minus sign. And then also, since this is a high fantasy setting, and this character, the character sheet here has other things that might not pertain to the high fantasy world, you can either cross those skills out after you print this out, or you can use, whatever acrobat or what other method to cross some of those skills out. So in high fantasy, obviously, we probably don't have computers. So if we wanted to just kind of highlight that, cross it out, that way we know that, we don't have to worry about computer use checks. But again, it's up to your GM, it's up to the imagination. Maybe there are computers somehow in a high fantasy setting. So anyways, we will move on to the next step. So step 3 is calculating your starting armor class. So for the standard creation, this is based on a character's dexterity character trait stat. And we have here how the armor class, aka how difficult it is to be hit. So for our character here, since they did not have a dexterity proficiency or deficiency, we would just mark it as normal, having neither. So it's 12. Moving on to step 4, calculating starting hit points. So standard creation again, this is based on a constitution character trait stat. So since our character here has neither a proficiency or deficiency in constitution, then they just have the normal. So their standard hit points is 4 hit points. Then the next one up would be choosing a weapon. Actually, I can go ahead and update our character sheet here just to show you where those things are. So AC, armor class, based on the dex stat. So we even have, those quick guide to creation right here. And then hit points, same thing. And then there's a movement speed. We'll just say 30 feet for standard. That's not really that important at this point. So then on to the next step would be choosing a weapon. So you'd want to work with your GM to describe what type of weapons your character might possess or use. And some of the categories they fall into. So melee combat attacks would be the strength trait. Sorry, can't talk tonight. So examples of that would be swords, daggers, axes, katanas, clubs, or lightsabers. Any of those. Range combat attacks would be anywhere from dexterity traits. Those could be crossbows, short bows, pistols, lasers, rifles. And then if you want to have any type of magic attacks, you could have those special types in here as well. Fireballs, lightning, force push. So for our character, they have a war pick. So as I scroll down here, I've already kind of calculated all this stuff out. So the war pick would fall under the melee strength attack. So we'll go ahead and we'll add our weapon here, under melee. And then the next step of this, since we've determined what they have, the next step is calculating the damage. So in the standard rules, the damage will always be 1 damage per hit as a default. And how that works is that since the HP rules in the standard is low, every time you hit something, it's usually going to do 1 damage. And that can all be determined if your GM wants it to hit harder. There's ways of calculating harder damage. But for the standard rules, it's 1 damage per hit. Then after that, we can calculate the weapon's range. So obviously, since this is a war pick, it's a close combat weapon. So it would be hitting within a 5 feet range of someone. So if we wanted to, we can add all these details here. So we can put war pick, close range, and we can put 1 damage per hit. Okay. So then ranged attacks, we don't really have to worry about that. And then into our next category, this would be deciding on if our character has any special abilities. So this is optional at the beginning. Most players might have an idea and they might not really be ready to craft out exactly what rules should be used, but that doesn't mean that you can't still play the game and, have fun with just the way your character is fleshed out. But if a game master and the players want to come up with some just basic mechanics around, how the character might have special abilities, they can do these if they fall into action, bonus actions, or if something's always active. So for this character, I kind of already did that here. So Ono's here. Since he's a blacksmith, I kind of came up with just a crafting standard action for them. So if a blacksmith's always going to roll proficiency when they're attempting to construct or repair an item. And I also added a note here that the game master could let the player know if they have enough materials needed to attempt to craft and how much time that might take. So we can add that into our special abilities. The character creation sheet. And a little bit more into that, if, Ono's here, if he, narratively broke his weapon, his war pick, and during some downtime, he talks to the GM and says, hey, I'd really like to fix my war pick. The GM would be like, okay, well, you've got, the next 8 hours on hand. Do you want to repair it now? If so, go ahead and roll me the dice and roll proficiency. And then if they rolled high enough, the game master would say, okay, so you spent, all night hammering out your war pick and it's now fixed and you can use it the next day. So that's just kind of a basic example how a special ability would work. So then lastly, on our character creation, choosing starting items. Again, this is probably more of an optional thing, and a lot of this can be cosmetic and may not have special bonuses or anything granted. But you would just work with the game master as well to create any possible items that you might have when you start out. This could be money. This could also be things like for example, something like a medical kit and a disguise kit. Those are just some basic examples. But for our character Onos here, since he's a blacksmith, I assume that he probably has his blacksmith hammer. He might have a pocket bellow to kind of blow the fire and heat up the metal. And he might also have a lockpick. And we'll see how lockpicks kind of would be used for this specific character. So I'll go ahead and add those items to our standard character here. And then background, this is purely up to you as a player. You can work with, again, the game master to kind of craft your character's background. Sometimes that's not even needed. You could just, say how Onos grew up, say why he's a blacksmith, say any other things that you might, have on your imagination about Onos. Descriptive, text about, what he's wearing or what other type of things he might be carrying on him or just his ideals. So that's basically how you create a standard character. So now, given this, I will actually show you how to turn Onos into a advanced character following the same steps. So if I go back to, we can skip step 1 because we already have his archetype, and we'll go down to step 2. So advanced character rules are a little different, as you can see here. So for this and on the sheet, you'll see things like saving throw is now separated out, attack types are separated, and skill traits are their own separate things, versus the standard character sheet, which has them all kind of grouped together in one thing here. So for creating a advanced character, so you'll be choosing proficiencies and deficiencies based on these things. So for saving throws, we would have 2 proficiency points and 1 deficiency point that we would need to put towards saving throws. So again, for Onos here, I chose that he'd be proficient in strength saves and constitution saves. So this gives him a little bit more fleshed out proficiencies. So we'll go ahead and add those in, strength saves, constitution saving throws. And you'll see on here that this basically gives you enough information of exactly how to fill this out and also what this can affect as far as your stats go. And then I also gave him the same deficiency in wisdom saving throws. So step 3, we're still on step 2. Attack type. So we would be choosing 1 specific attack skill to have proficiency in. So with him, since he's using that war pick, again, we'll have him proficient in melee attack. And then we would choose 5 proficiencies and 3 deficiencies for specific skills. Now, this is how things differ from standard. This is how you get a more fleshed out character that doesn't always just follow in line with being proficient in just strength items or dexterity items and deficient in anything that's wisdom. This allows you to kind of custom pick and choose what your character might be good or bad at. So I just kind of noted a few things from that. So we have proficiency with athletics. So we'll go ahead and mark that. Lock picking. So I chose lock picking for him to have proficiency in, again, because he's a blacksmith. So he might understand how locks are actually created. So again, that kind of goes into a little bit more of like that backstory or custom creation of a character. He doesn't have to be like a thief, or a criminal to understand how locks work. just kind of comes off your imagination as this guy might build locks, and he would know how to lock pick based on that. So we got intimidation, nature, and persuasion checks. So mark those as proficient. He's a big guy. He's probably pretty scary if you make him angry. And since he's also a blacksmith, he's probably good at haggling. So that's why I gave him these kind of boosts to his skills here. So deficiency, I've marked him with religion. So we would say he might not know too much about religion. He's not a religious person, maybe, or, however you want to take that. Medicine, he's not really a medic. He likes to fix items, not people. And since he's probably a big lumbering guy, he's probably not very good at stealth. So that basically is how you create the first parts of this. So then we would go on to calculating armor class. So advanced armor class, it is calculated by the dexterity saving throw stat, not just the dexterity stat itself. So pretty similar. So this dexterity saving throw is what makes your armor class. So this is again going to be 12. The hit points, this is going to be based on a constitution saving throw stat instead of just the constitution itself. So since we didn't add since we added a proficiency to this, they actually get a bump up in their hit points. Now for the hit points itself, for advanced characters, you can actually use either the regular standard hit points of having 5, or there is a advanced hit point rule section in the rule book. And so now this would be 1d8 plus 8. So you would roll an 8-sided dice and then add 8 to that roll. So I would have rolled a 4 and 8 would have been my total here. Or 12 hit points would have been the total. Then our movement speed, again, we'll have it at 30. Our melee attack weapon. So again, oh, I actually messed up there. We should have a D10 plus 10 for our hit points. So let me just go ahead and I will change that here. So let's say I rolled the 4 still on this 10-sided dice. So basically we would have 14 hit points instead of the 12. So I'll go ahead and update that on our advanced character. So got a little bit extra bump there for having our constitution saving throw. Again, we have our war pick as our melee attack. Since we're proficient in that, we don't really need to have the strength or anything added here. We know this is a close range weapon. And when we're calculating the damage, we can actually use this table here on step 6, calculating weapon damage. So the alternative damage rules, when that goes in conjunction with your using the advanced hit points, you can look through this chart and find out what type of weapon damage you'll be doing. So our war pick should be located here under a heavy weapon. Yep, war pick right there. So it does a 1d8, an 8-sided dice per hit. So we can go ahead and add that to our damage here. So 1d8 damage per hit. And we don't have any ranged attack weapons. And then our special ability, we can go ahead and use the same special ability that we had before. with the crafting. If there's any other extra ones that you can add in or want to add in at this point, those again are completely between you and the game master to kind of come up with. And then items, there's nothing advanced about these items as well. So basically all the same stuff applies. So that's really how you make either a standard character or an advanced character using the quick guide here. And then if you're just wanting to kind of get an easy character fleshed out, you don't really want to go through all these steps. I've actually created on the perchance.org website a way to roll up random characters. And I'll have this link posted in the description below. But it's basically on perchance.org. Let me just pull this all the way up. Gateway RPG character -HF. So from here, you just click this random character button, and it'll give you all the information you would need to be able to fill out your standard character sheet. And it has different genres here for standard character roles, and then it also has the different genres for advanced characters. So this is a high fantasy character. Again, if I wanted to go and create a quick cyberpunk character, I can just go ahead and keep clicking this randomly. So we're a clone vigilante that specializes in using throwing stars to defeat enemies, proficient in throwing stars, which would be a ranged attack. And then this character is proficient in a constitution and deficient in charisma. And then it has their armor class based on these two things already calculated for you. Again, you'd have to come up with special abilities or items that you might have. And then we can also go ahead and look at how that would work for Cyberpunk in the advanced roles. So this random generator you'll see here has a lot more information on it. So you're a pureblood human blade runner that specializes in using throwing axes to defeat your enemies. Kind of a weird thing for Cyberpunk. There's a lot of weird weapons, but you can just continue to create random characters until something looks good to you. So like a clone criminal cleaner that specializes in using attack drones. And they're proficient in, we'd say the attack drones are probably a ranged weapon. Their saving throws, they're proficient in dexterity and wisdom, but they're deficient in constitution. It has their armor class already calculated, and then the hit points are also calculated in both the standard or the advanced hit point rules and damage rules. And then it gives the skill proficiencies and then any deficiencies. And that's pretty much it. So if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. I'll have all the other links to the Gateway Role-Playing Game system and where to find it. It's located on the Drive-Thru RPG. It's free, so you can grab it there. There's also a mobile app for the game, and there's also a website that you can review everything there as well, gatewayrpg.wordpress.com. It has basically everything you would need for the game, including the link to that random character generator, homebrew supplements, all the downloads, and then if you wanted to just see the information on how to play the game even, it's all right here as well. So again, all those links will be down in the description. Thanks for giving this a watch through. Have a great one.